Eldoria, The Shadow Rising by Justin Lawrence. Chapter 1, Whispers in the Dark. Leo dreamed of fire. The academy's walls cracked and burned, the sky dripping with shadow. Screams echoed through the halls, and in the center of it all stood Thorn, eyes glowing red as embers, his wolf fused into his form. Behind him stretched an endless tide of mist, swallowing the world whole. Leo woke with a start, drenched in sweat, the pendant at his chest glowing faintly. It hadn't stopped since the battle. Sometimes the light was calm, like a steady heartbeat. Other times it flared as if warning him of something unseen. Tonight it pulsed with unease. His creature stirred from where it lay curled beside his bed, scales shimmering in the moonlight. It nudged his hand gently, grounding him. "I know," Leo whispered, staring out the window at the forest beyond. "Something's coming," but deep down he wondered if it was already here. Chapter 2, A Rift Between Friends. The academy still bore scars from the battle, charred stone, shattered wards, students moving quietly with the weight of survival on their shoulders. Training had doubled, lessons harsher than ever. Everyone knew the shadows would return. During combat drills, Leo and Jackson fought side by side as usual, but the rhythm was off. Jackson's fiery bird struck too early, cutting across Leo's path, forcing him to stumble. "Watch it!" Leo snapped. "Maybe if you didn't take so long lining up your big hero moves, I wouldn't have to," Jackson shot back. His bird shrieked overhead, mirroring his temper. Students glanced their way, whispers rising. Alara rushed between them, her gentle voice firm. "Both of you stop. This isn't helping." But when training ended, Jackson stalked off without another word. Leo stood frozen, hurt gnawing at him. Jackson had always been his anchor, his laughter cutting through fear. Now that bond felt like it was fraying, thread by thread. And in the back of his mind, Leo wondered if the shadows weren't the only enemy he'd have to face. Chapter 3, The Council's Warning. That evening, Master Kale summoned Leo, Alara, and Jackson to the High Council chamber. Elders sat in a half circle, their robes heavy with age and burden. The air itself felt colder here. Elder Marin, her eyes sharp as steel, spoke first. "The blight is not aimless, it is guided." Leo's stomach twisted. "You mean someone controls it?" Kyle's jaw tightened. "Not someone, something, the Shadow Lord. Once, long ago, it was defeated but never destroyed. The blight is its echo, and Thorn has become its chosen hand." Alara's breath caught. "Then every battle we fight, every shadow, it's all part of something bigger." "Correct," Marin said. "And it will not stop until it consumes this world. Which is why you must prepare." Leo clutched the pendant, its faint glow warming his palm. "What does it want with me?" Kyle's eyes softened, but his words were heavy. "The Shadow Lord remembers the first bonds. Your pendant is more than a weapon, it is a key. And keys unlock doors." A chill ran through Leo. He suddenly wasn't sure if the pendant's glow was protecting him or warning him of a lock he'd one day have to open. Chapter 4, Echoes of the Past. The library smelled of dust and candle wax, its shelves towering with centuries of knowledge. Leo sat cross-legged on the floor, ancient tomes spread before him. His creature lay curled at his side, occasionally nudging a page as if urging him onward. He traced the illustrations with his finger. 3 pendants, each different, each tied to a creature of legend. Fire, ice, and spirit. Together they had once sealed the Shadow Lord away. One was his. The others were missing. Alara appeared quietly, a stack of scrolls in her arms. "You're not the only one searching," she said gently. "Kyle asked me to help. Do you think they're real? The other pendants?" Leo asked. "They have to be," she replied. "Otherwise, why would the shadows be growing stronger now?" Leo shut the book, staring at the flickering lantern light. His dreams, the council's warning, the weight of the pendant, it all pointed the same way. The war wasn't about defending the academy anymore. It was about finding the relics before Thorn did, and Leo wasn't sure if he was ready for the road ahead. Chapter 5. The Forbidden Ruins. The ruins lay deep in the forest, half swallowed by roots and stone. The council had marked them off limits, but that didn't stop Leo, Alara, and Jackson from slipping out under cover of night. "We'll be back before dawn," Jackson muttered, pushing aside a branch. His tone was clipped, still carrying their unspoken rift. Alara shook her head. "We shouldn't be here if Pale finds out." "He'll understand when we bring back proof of the relics," Leo cut in, though the knot in his stomach told him he wasn't so sure. The ruins loomed ahead, pillars cracked and covered in moss. Strange runes pulsed faintly on the stones, whispering of power long forgotten, but the deeper they went, the colder the air became. Shadows seemed to slither along the walls, curling like smoke. And then came the sound, low guttural growls echoing from the darkness. They weren't alone. Chapter 6, The Shadow's Mark. From the ruins stepped Thorn, his corrupted wolf pacing beside him. Its eyes glowed red, its fur dripping like ink. "Well, well," Thorn sneered, his voice carrying the sharp edge of cruelty. "Little Leo and his merry band of traitors. Did you really think you could sneak into my hunting ground?" Jackson stiffened, Firebird spreading its wings. "Your hunting ground? You don't own this place." Thorn's smile was cold. "The shadows do, and I am their chosen." He raised his hand, black mist curling around his fingers. The wolf growled, muscles rippling with unnatural power. Leo's pendant flared against his chest, burning hot. His creature stepped forward, eyes locked on the corrupted wolf. For a heartbeat, Leo thought he saw the faintest trace of sorrow in its gaze, as if mourning what had been lost. Then the ruins erupted into chaos. Mist slammed into stone, fire clashed against shadow. Leo felt the earth tremble under their power, but deep down he realized this wasn't a battle they could win. Not yet. "Go!" he shouted, hurling light forward to buy them time. Alara grabbed Jackson's arm, dragging him back. Thorn's laughter echoed as they fled into the night. "Run, Leo. The shadows always find what they want. And they want you." Chapter 7, Shattered Trust. Back at the academy, Master Kael's face was stone. "You defied orders. Do you understand what you've risked?" Leo lowered his head. "We found proof. Thorn's stronger. He's different now." "That does not excuse your recklessness," Kael thundered. "You endangered not only yourselves, but every student here. The blight feeds on broken bonds, and you handed exactly that." Jackson bristled. "So it's Leo's fault, as always?" Alara stepped between them, but the damage was done. Jackson stormed out, his bird trailing sparks in his wake. The silence left behind was heavier than any punishment. That night, Leo sat alone in the courtyard, staring at the pendant. The glow felt dimmer now, strained. His creature lay beside him, but even its warmth couldn't quiet the doubt clawing at his chest. What if Jackson was right? What if his choices were tearing them all apart? Chapter 8, Guardian of the Academy. Days later, the answer came from beneath their feet. The Academy's oldest catacombs had long been sealed, the entrance marked with warnings. But the pendant burned hotter each time Leo passed the spot, until at last he could ignore it no longer. With Alara at his side, he descended into the darkness. The tunnels twisted endlessly, carved with ancient symbols. At their heart lay a stone chamber, its floor etched with a massive circle of runes. And there, resting on a pedestal of crystal, was the first relic, a shard of obsidian bound in silver, glowing faintly with firelight. But before Leo could touch it, the air shifted. From the shadows rose a guardian, neither beast nor man, but something between. Its body was forged of shifting stone and flame, its eyes molten gold. Its voice rumbled through the chamber. "Only the worthy may claim what was lost. Prove your bond or be consumed." Leo's hand trembled. His creature stepped forward, scales glinting as the challenge began. Chapter 9, Fractured Bonds. The relic sat locked away in the council's chamber, guarded by runes and watchful eyes, but even its presence couldn't ease the fractures spreading through the academy. Jackson barely spoke to Leo anymore. When he did, it was sharp, clipped. You think you're the chosen one, don't you? Always leading, always risking our necks. Leo swallowed the retort, burning his tongue. The pendant on his chest throbbed faintly, as if sensing the widening gap between them. His creature nudged him gently, a silent plea not to let anger take root. But each day the tension grew worse, spilling into training sessions. Some students drifted toward Leo, inspired by his courage. Others gathered behind Jackson, who voiced what many whispered. Maybe Leo's bond was more curse than blessing. Division had set in, and in the heart of the academy, unity began to crumble. Chapter 10, The Spy Among Us. The first attack came at night. Shadows slipped past the wards, seeping into dormitories. Screams shattered the silence as students scrambled to defend themselves. Leo's pendant flared, his creature bursting with light that drove the shadows back. But when dawn broke, the council found something worse than broken wards, a sigil carved into the inner walls, drawn in dark blood. It was placed from inside, Kyle said grimly, running his hand along the symbol. We have a spy. Suspicion spread like wildfire. Students whispered accusations in hallways, friendships tested by doubt. Even Alara looked shaken, her eyes darting nervously across familiar faces. But Leo already knew deep in his gut. The shadows weren't just knocking at their doors. They were already inside. Chapter 11, the traitor revealed. The truth came faster than Leo expected. During a late patrol, he caught sight of movement near the relic's chamber. A cloaked figure slipped past the wards as if they weren't there. Leo followed silently, heart pounding. Inside the chamber, the figure pressed their hand to the relic's case, whispering words in a tongue older than the ruins. The silver binding around the shard pulsed, dimming. Alara. The name left Leo's lips before he could stop it. She spun, eyes wide, face pale in the relic's glow. Leo, But her words cut off as a shadow burst from the stone, lashing around her wrist. She screamed as black tendrils dug into her skin, veins darkening as though ink were spreading through her blood. Leo rushed forward, pendant blazing, tearing the shadow away. But the damage was done. The spy wasn't Alara. The spy had used her. And now she might not survive. Chapter 12, Blood on the Stones. Alara collapsed into his arms, trembling, her breath ragged. The black stain crawled up her arm toward her chest, veins glowing faintly with shadow fire. Hold on, Leo whispered, pressing the pendant against her skin. The gem pulsed, fighting to burn away the corruption. His creature pressed close, lending his strength, but the shadows resisted. Kyle and the healers rushed in, ripping Leo away. This magic isn't natural, Kyle said grimly. It's poison born of betrayal. Alara convulsed, gasping for air. Leo felt helpless, fists clenched as students whispered in the doorway. Some muttered that it was his fault, that if not for him, the relic would have stayed untouched, and Alara wouldn't be dying. Jackson's voice cut through them all. You see? He brings danger to everyone he touches. He'll get us all killed. The words hit harder than any blade. Leo stood frozen, watching Alara fight for her life, while outside the chamber the shadows gathered, hungering for the cracks, splintering them apart. Chapter 13, The Siege Begins. The attack came at dusk. It started as whispers on the wind, low, guttural voices that weren't human. Then came the first crash, the outer gates shattering under a tidal wave of shadows. The academy erupted into chaos. Students poured into the courtyard, weapons and bonded creatures at the ready. Flames lit the night sky, arrows of light cutting through darkness. But for every shadow they struck down, two more rose. Kale's voice boomed across the battlefield. Hold the line! Leo fought at the front, his creature blazing with radiant fury. The pendant burned hot against his chest, guiding his strikes, but through the chaos he saw the truth. The shadows weren't attacking blindly, they were searching for him. Chapter 14, The Fall of Eldoria's Walls. The Academy's wards cracked first, the shimmering dome of protection that had held for centuries shattered with a sound like breaking glass. Students screamed as the outer walls crumbled, stone raining into the courtyards. The shadow army poured in, twisted beasts, corrupted creatures, and humans bound to darkness. Leo's gaze locked on Thorn, striding through the wreckage, his wolf fused with shadow until it was more nightmare than beast. His smile was cruel. Did you really think stone walls could stop us? Leo charged, pendant blazing, but Thorn met him with a wall of black flame. The force hurled him back, his bonds shrieking in pain as it shielded him. And in that moment, Leo understood this wasn't a battle to win. It was a slaughter. Retreat, Kael roared, his blade dripping shadow blood. Fall back, save who you can. The Academy of Eldoria, their sanctuary, their home, was falling. Chapter 15, Flight into the Wilds. Smoke choked the air as Leo pulled survivors through the hidden tunnels beneath the Academy. The ground shook with distant explosions, the roar of battle fading as they fled. Alara, still weakened but alive, leaned heavily against him. Her creature limped beside hers, feathers singed. Behind them, Jackson helped lead a group of terrified first years, his firebird spitting embers to light the way. When they emerged into the open night, the sight broke Leo's heart, the academy burning, its spires crumbling into ash. Where do we go now? Alara whispered. Leo clenched his jaw. North, the mountains. If the legends are true, the second relic lies there. Jackson scoffed, though his voice shook. So we just wander into the frozen death trap because your pendant says so? Leo turned to him, eyes blazing. Unless you got a better plan, yes? Silence followed. For once, no one argued. They just followed, stumbling into the night with shadows on their trail. Chapter 16, The Frozen Mountains. The north was merciless, snow bit into their skin, winds howling like beasts. The mountains rose ahead, jagged and crowned with ice, their peaks lost in storm clouds. Every step felt heavier than the last. Supplies dwindled, students dropped from exhaustion, and still the shadows hunted them, leaving clawed tracks in the snow just beyond their campfires. One night, as the survivors huddled together for warmth, Leo slipped away to the ridge. His pendant glowed faintly, pulling him forward. There, carved into the mountainside, he saw them, runes like those in the ruins, glowing faintly beneath layers of ice. The relic was here. But as the storm raged around him, a howl rose in the distance. Deep, echoing, and raw, shadows had found them, and this time there would be no walls to hide behind. Chapter 17, The Second Relic. The cavern was a cathedral of ice. Columns of frozen crystal stretched high into the darkness, refracting light from Leo's pendant into shimmering rainbows. At the center of the cavern sat the relic, a blade forged from obsidian and frost, its edge gleaming with unnatural sharpness. But the relic was not unguarded. A beast of living ice stirred from the shadows, its body serpentine, eyes glowing like frozen stars. It hissed, shaking shards of ice from its scales. Leo raised the pendant and his creature roared in defiance. The chamber erupted into battle. Claws scraped against ice, blasts of fire shattered frozen pillars, and light clashed with blizzards. When at last the guardian fell, the cavern shook as if mourning its loss. Leo lifted the blade, the relic's cold power seeping into his veins. But the victory felt hollow. 2 students lay dead in the snow, and Jackson's glare told him the cost was only just beginning. Chapter 18, Chains of Doubt. The relic's cold power weighed heavily on Leo. Each time he drew on it, his chest tightened, as though it were taking something in return. Jackson noticed. You're letting it control you, he spat one night, sparks from his firebird hissing in the snow. We lose people every time you lead us. Do you even care? Leo's jaw clenched. I care more than you'll ever know. But if we stop, if we give up, Thorn wins. Jackson shook his head. Maybe Thorn's not the problem. Maybe you are. The word struck deeper than any blade. Alara tried to intervene, but the distance between Leo and Jackson had become a canyon, and the shadows were quick to whisper in that canyon, feeding Jackson's doubts. Chapter 19. Thorn's Ascension. Far below the mountains, Thorn knelt in a chamber of black stone. The air was thick with shadow, the walls alive with whispering runes. His corrupted wolf snarled, trembling as if resisting something unseen. The shadows poured into it, fusing flesh with darkness, so its body warped into a monstrous silhouette, fangs jagged, fur like living smoke. Thorn pressed his hand to its skull, absorbing its pain, its fury, its corruption. His eyes glowed blood red as the bond sealed. When he rose, the ground shook. He was no longer just Thorn. He was the Shadow's champion, and his first vow was simple: break Leo's bond and claim the pendant for the darkness. Chapter 20. The Gathering Storm. The survivors regrouped in a valley below the peaks. Exhausted, frozen, and broken, they built fires that barely held back the dark. Some wanted to keep running. Others demanded they fight. The arguments grew louder, harsher, until fists nearly flew. Leo stood before them, relic blade in hand, pendant glowing faintly. We either stand together or we die alone. This bond, this fight, it's not mine alone. It belongs to all of us. But even as he spoke, he saw the doubt in their eyes. He saw Jackson standing apart, arms crossed, face carved with resentment. And above them, storm clouds swirled unnaturally fast. The shadows were gathering, drawn by the relic's power. The storm wasn't just coming, it was already here. Chapter 21. The Broken Bond. The storm broke at midnight. Shadows poured into the valley like a living flood, claws tearing through tents, fangs flashing in the firelight. Students screamed, creatures fought desperately, but the horde was endless. At the center of it all came Thorn, eyes burning red, his corrupted wolf looming like a demon. Leo, Thorn's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. This ends tonight. Leo charged, pendant blazing, relic blade flashing. His creature lunged, meeting the shadow wolf in a clash that split the earth. Light and darkness tore across the battlefield, blinding all who watched. But the bond was weakening. Leo felt it in his chest, every strike, every roar pulling threads of his soul apart. His creature staggered, blood staining its scales. And then the blow came. The shadow wolf's claws raked across Leo's bond, sinking deep into its chest. The scream that followed wasn't just pain, it was breaking. The bond between Leo and his creature cracked like shattered glass. He fell to his knees, pendant flickering. His creature collapsed, still breathing, but barely. For the first time, Leo felt what true loss of a bond meant. Chapter 22. A Vow in the Darkness. The battlefield was chaos. Fire against shadow, screams against silence. And then one voice rose above it all. Alara! Leo turned just in time to see her fall. A shadow blade pierced her back, driven by one of the corrupted traitors who had once been a student. She gasped, blood staining the snow, her creature shrieking in anguish as it flickered, fading with her life. Leo staggered toward her, pendant blazing weakly. Stay with me, please. Her hand found his, trembling. You have to finish this, the bond, the light. Her eyes dimmed, her last breath misting in the frozen air. And then she was gone. Silence crashed over Leo, heavier than the storm. Jackson's firebird screeched, lighting the battlefield with fury as Jackson roared her name. But Leo stood frozen, Alara's blood on his hands, his pendant now burning hotter than ever. He rose slowly, fury and grief twisting together until the glow of the relic and pendant fused into one searing light. The shadows recoiled, even Thorn taking a step back. Leo's voice was ragged, broken, but unyielding. I swear on her blood, on my bond, on everything Eldoria stands for, I will end you, Thorn, even if it destroys me. The storm broke, shadows retreating into the night, but not in defeat. They fled laughing, as if the death of Alara had already broken more than any blade ever could. Leo stood over her body, pendant pulsing like a heartbeat, a vow etched into his soul. The war wasn't over, it had only just begun.